Question that I have and a lot of folks have is where in the hell were Luigi Mangione's family? Where were they? During the course of this, when they said, up, you see his eyebrows, you know who he is, you got the, they knew. They knew. Come on. A lot of people knew that, uh-oh. Yeah, he was talking a lot about the spondylolisthesis and whatever this stuff is, and his surgery, and this was a healthcare fellow, and he was that's. Could they be held responsible? Well, let's look at this. First and foremost, merely not reporting a crime is not enough. Merely not reporting, so that's not any concern. The issue then becomes, well, what about if they actively harbored his escape, helped him get away from justice? Well, that's a different story. But merely knowing something, merely being aware of it, is not enough to get you a ticket to the Hooskow. So that's something that people have to recognize and keep in mind. Later on, you have to figure out, well, what exactly does anybody have any responsibility for this? The answer is probably not. In fact, in many jurisdictions, if you are actively harboring a fugitive, you could be excluded from that particular concern by virtue of the fact of you being a familial relative, grandparents, parents, whatever it is. So that may be a way out. But the bottom line, what people really have to be thinking about, is this question. What do you think, really and truly, what do you think is the responsibility of parents and family members? This goes back to the whole Ted Kaczynski thing. I think his brother maybe have known. I think it was his sister-in-law. And that's a tough one. If this is your guy and he's out there, what are you going to do? Hey, turn yourself in. I've always wondered that. Why would you tell a family member, turn yourself in? Well, you might say turn yourself in because they could maybe kill you in a shootout or something along those lines. Maybe that's a consideration. Maybe it might be turn yourself in because it'll work later in a plea, though I don't know. When you've committed, in essence, cold-blooded murder, I don't know how you're going to mitigate that later on by saying, I did, after all, turn myself in. Well, that's a good point. So the question becomes very, 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 very tough as to how that works. But I wonder about these folks. And I wonder how, and this is a rarity, most people grow up and, listen, a lot of people have very strong feelings about, family, and they have a problem with, problem with healthcare and health rejection and all that stuff. And I appreciate that. And I think there's a certain valid claim to it, but not that much of a valid claim. Not that much of a valid claim. It's not completely and totally. It doesn't exculpate and remove your responsibility and the like. See, this is a very interesting thing. Is he crazy? I submit to you, no. He's not crazy. He is not crazy. I know we use the word crazy sometimes far too often. We use the word far too often to explain and to suggest things like somebody's acting odd, somebody's acting weird. He must be crazy. I don't know. I really don't know. But the question I think is the most interesting is responsibility. Who has responsibility for anything? I don't think anybody does. I think you're going to find out, you're going to be surprised as to how many people could do this, but for some reason don't. And most people are kind of lazy. They will say, look, I hate this people. I hate those people. I hate the way they did it, but I don't want to go and risk my life. I don't want to risk my freedom. I don't want to risk my ability to move about just because I harbor this anger accordingly. That is a different, dare I say, flavor That is a different way of looking at things. That is something which is very, very, shall we say, it's a different idea. I think what we're going to find out with this fellow is that he probably got a little bit whacked out later on because of the drugs. And later on, not that he's schizophrenic, because they're going to try everything to do some kind of an insanity defense, but there comes a time later on when people realize, and they start to suggest, and they start to insinuate that maybe right in their 20s, you become more prone to schizophrenic breaks, and you can go full-blown schizo-lunatic or mild, where your ability, your judgment centers, the ability for you to rationalize, the ability to comport, the ability to take your thoughts, your ideas, and to position them accordingly, that is somehow lost by virtue of this. That is lost. You see what I'm saying? And this is the most interesting of them all, because when you consider what is happening right now, when you consider all that is happening, as a defense lawyer, I would have so much fun, because maybe I'm mitigating the circumstances, maybe, and this forces family members will come and testify as to how he changed and how he went nuts. And he's really not a bad guy. He just was driven. Remember, he's not looking at the death penalty. So he's and it's New York, so he's not, this isn't the most draconian of states. But watch what happens, and watch how you'll see family, the healthcare system, drugs, and all of the other aspects of it kind of blend together, all hoping to mitigate his case and to get him a little bit, not off the hook, but to mitigate the sentence. All right, dear friends, have a great and a glorious day. Did you know that 87% of the people, 87% of the people who watch us do not subscribe, and that is a travesty. Please do so, my friend. Please do so. Hit that little bell so you're notified of live streams and new videos, and like this video. And whatever you do, for the love of God, please comment as you see fit.